Hello and welcome, guys. I am Fred from Breaking Heads, playing this year for Team Germany at the WTC 2025. As you might be able to hear, I have quarter code like I feel every year after the WTC, but I'm still doing the stream because I tell myself every year if I play WTC as a player, a coach, in any ways, I want to do content, and it always gets lost, and then at some point it's too late to do it. I will wait a bit for the chat to be here. If you're watching the recording, you will be able to go to the timestamps and then go wherever you want to, like what's most interesting to you in the video. And currently I don't see the chat. Why do I not see the chat? Chat, where are you? Why can I not see the chat? This is not what I want. Okay. No. That's weird. I see that there are comments in the YouTube chat, but I cannot see it in my StreamYards. Let me think for a second. See for a second. Yes. That should all be fine. Holy shit, this has never happened. Why can I not? Oh, wait. It's public. Maybe now I can see it. So guys, as I said, there will be timestamps to go forward. I can see the chat. Hello, Alex. The North is assembled. Hello, Imperium Thales. Hello, Yukon. Hello, Sintas. Hello, Douche Radio. I have not seen you before, but thank you for being in the set. Hello, Timo. Hello, Dreamnacht. I haven't seen you before in our Monday stream. Maybe you are one of the English audience. The stream will be in English, guys, to cater to our potential English international viewers. There will be more German content, don't worry. And hello, Adrian. The ring is somewhere packed away deep in the army box. Hello, Tirelli. Greetings to your mom, apparently. And that's all the active chat for now. Matthew. Hello, Matthew. Nice to have you here. I'm glad you caught this. So first of all, please, if you like what we do, please like this video. Just hit the like button. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the Breaking Heads YouTube channel. We are one of the biggest German YouTube channels for competitive content. We cover the German scene every Monday, so Monday stream, and we have been on harsh censorship for the last months due to the WC, due to most of us playing in the WC for Team Germany, Arne, Malte, and I, and also Pau, who's going to be doing more content with us. But this has been lifted now, and there will be more content coming again, and also especially WC-related content. So subscribe so you get all this content right to your, I don't know, doom scroll YouTube timeline, and also catch our next tier list, which we can now finally do again. Thank you for the reminder, Tirelli. Yeah. So I think that's about it. Our next stream, by the way, will be the Monday stream next Monday, with covering all the tournaments we haven't done yet. Next week, we're also recording with multiple members of Breaking Heads some recap for the WC. This is now my focused recap for the WC and playing Chaos Knights there. So let's just dive into it. My plan for it is about to give you like a small overview, to be talking to you about for maybe 50 minutes. I usually tend to get talking for a very long time. I hope I catch this. I think I should be able to do that. And then there will be like 10 minutes for more questions. And what I will show you today is general matchup overview. What matchup did I had at the WTC and the Warmasters? I played a total of 13 games in Leoben, Austria, over the last week. I will go in what the meta expectations for me were, and then and I think that's one of the most interesting parts, probably for most Chaos Knights player out there, but also people who like to play. In the end, stat check lists which have a very strong focus on a certain data sheet, and maybe also people who see themselves in a certain role in the teams, because I definitely ended up to having a very specific role in our team. So the army list development will be the most interesting part for you. Then there will be general matchup style explaining how this army plays, and also there will be some matchups as example for you to understand what I mean with how it's supposed to be played, and yeah, so there will be mirrors, there will be matchups against Blood Angels, there will be mirrors, there will be matchups against Thousand Suns, to give you some insights on how it actually plays out on a tabletop. I document pretty much every single game that I do, whether it's on a tournament or as a training game. I sadly lost the documentation, at least the score sheet for my one of the most interesting game, the game against T-Suns, but I will be able to reconstruct that for you in a more general manner. So you might hear me saying some of the stuff on the left side, but we come back to that later. Let's start with the matchup overview. So I played at the Warmasters 6 games. I played against Demons, Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, Blood Angels, Eldari, and Chaos Knights. 4 of these were national players who played the list that they play for their national team at the event just after. I lost the Chaos Knight mirror, and I lost against Eldari. I was really happy to manage to win 2 of the mirrors. And the funny thing is, actually, the last game, the Chaos Knight mirror was a 1-to-1 mirror of this exact same list, playing against Root from Team Netherlands. Greetings. It was a very, very fun game, Root, who basically took my list, which he saw at the Pyra Cup. I will talk about the Pyra Cup, the team tournament in Poland just before the WTC in a second. In general, I was pretty happy with the result because I played my team list, which is not prepared for the singles meta. And the singles meta, I definitely have to expect to play against Eldari, and this list cannot win against Eldari. I might even say that Chaos Knights would have a bad matchup against Eldari all the time. So running into them, and with Thomas Wobak, a very good player from Austria who has been playing Eldari up and down, I'm not so sad about losing against him, or more happy to get 7 points there as a preparation for the teams. And last but not least, the Chaos Knight match, which I lost 5-15, was on a table which had very open objective market and had to go first, which put me at a big disadvantage. And I had to play. I did a deployment error, which made me unable to, how do I say this? Come back from the downside of going first. And you will see later in the game from the teams what I should have done instead, and where I really put the proper strategy at hand. I kind of feel like this game was in total like a bit messy game. Could have been like a 9-11 as well by just playing more defensive, but in the end I just put stuff out, because in a singles it doesn't matter whether you lose 9-11 or 15-5 or even worse. So these were the matches for the singles. The team matches. These were against Demons from South Africa, Imperial Knights from Iceland, Thousand Suns from Belgium, Chaos Knights Italy, World Eaters from USA, and then on the last day 2 times Imperial Knights, England and Canada. And finally, I can talk about this more openly. I was in a defender position in almost all of these matchups. I think maybe one of the matches was like a late match with whether me or the opponent knight defending and then being picked. But generally, I was able to play on open boards. For example, I was the first defender against USA, the World Eater player Anthony Vanella, which was a total champ in taking that loss because the table was terrible. His dice were shitty, and I was able to destroy him pretty hard. I will explain to you how this was possible and why the list is able to do that, and why this list able to play on open boards or on their board, swing the matchups, and outshoot a lot of armies. I would say probably all of the armies out there, and also play well in the mirror, and actually even the slight offset mirror of the heresy mirror of playing against Imperial Knights, because obviously the Atropos Knight is in everyone's discussion. It's like one of the best data sheets in the whole meta at the moment. Almost all armies which we saw from Imperial Knights were 3 Atropos plus Canis. There were eventually some deviation. My Chaos Knight, the list that I built for the teams, was able to play against that, and we will see how that actually worked. Yeah, and as I can foreshadow already, I have photos which I will be discussing from the Blood Angel match, the Thousand Suns match, the Imperial Knight match against England, and then also 3 at the end. I will show you what happens when it's actually not a mirror against the Chaos Knight and Imperial Knights from England and Canada, respectively. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into the meta. So, what was the expectations for the meta? Predicting the meta is super hard, and I'm pretty sure there were, for example, USA and France who put the meta on its head and just like bring no knights. But my expectation was very clear. There will be knights in the meta. There will be Chaos Knights. There will be Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights will be running Atropos builds, and Chaos Knights, well, they might bring something similar to me, like lots of big ones. Maybe they play big ones in the lots of Dread Detachment. But it will definitely be shooty and heavy tank style. There will be Death Guard, most certainly. And we had Death Guard. Death Guard has been strong in the meta. Death Guard has been strong in teams as well. And there will definitely be Eldari. And playing the Eldari army matchup as first, I found that with the stuff I tried, this matchup was really bad, but I always had the feeling that if I do a little bit better, then maybe I can do it. And I would say with the last list, I had the best shot, but it ended up in the last practices I had with something I would never accept as a defender, and I would never want our pairing coaches to pair me into. So expectation for Eldari, Death Guard, Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, definitely some sort of Space Marine build, with obviously Space Wolves at the WTC still being able to use the Rune Priest to its full potential and making him a very lethal, giving them really lethal shooting. I would expect him this definitely. As you might know, in Germany we have very strong Wotan players, and also the strongest Wotan player in the world was Tim Schneider. So I kind of had Wotan also on my mind, knowing that the French, for example, over the last year had adapted Wotan for their roster. T-Sons was a consideration as well. We didn't take it due to, I think, a variety of reasons, and actually our captain Malte would be able to talk about this better than me. But, well, it's like, I would say, in general, our evaluation of T-Sons wasn't as high as probably other countries did. So, I would say I was pretty fine with what I saw here in the top meta of the tier 1 list. Remember, this is a graph for only the tier 1 teams. So I felt fine playing against pretty much all of this, and which is most played, except for playing the Eldari, which I really didn't want to play. So this gives me obviously a great position as a defender. But sorry, I think I'm going too fast. Why do I feel comfortable? And you will understand from the list, which I get to, but we can take this as a starting point. I want to be able to play against these things. I want to be able to play against Death Guard. I want to be able to play against Necrons, Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, Wotan, Thousand Suns, and I don't know, maybe some kind of Chaos Space Marine, World Eater weird stuff, some AdMech stuff. Yeah, which is basically like a shooty melee mixed list. Okay, let's get to that. Here's my first list. This was the very first list I built after knowing the full points for the codex. And actually, to be honest, there was one iteration before that, which I tested very shortly with double tyrant, but was taken out immediately. And it was more like I didn't really read the whole points. But as soon as I had the full points, sitting there at a bootcamp we had, calculating what I can fit into a list of Chaos Knight with the new codex, to be honest, I was stunned. Reading the rules without the points, it was a bit like, okay, the Warlocks are still good. The big knights, they really didn't get above their general rules, didn't change at all. I was hoping for better. But with the points drops, basically the whole data sheets changed, because it's a total different if you're running 2 big knights or if you're starting to run 4 big knights, because suddenly you are really overwhelming the opponent with threat, and suddenly going from a player from playing a lot of 13 Warlocks, like more like a MSU close quarter list, you can go to a shooty list, because suddenly you can not just bring 1 big knight that shoots, you can bring 4 big knights or 3 big knights that shoot, and you can start out shooting your opponent. This first list here was 1 Atropos, 1 Lancer, 1 Despoiler with Battle Cannons, 1 Tyrant with Assault Enhancements, 3 Carnivores, and a Stalker. I'll go through the pros and cons from this list for now. Pros, good data sheets. The Lancer, suddenly a great data sheet. He actually was before, but he had could only afford him in a very specific case, and was more like a supporting piece. But suddenly these data sheets, they can carry themselves with the points cost that they got in the new codex. Points for points, they're all good data sheets, especially the carnivores, which stayed the same, and the Atropos as well. Even though the Atropos is not as good as it is in the Imperial Knights, it still has its advantages. What's also great about this first list I built was I have very much a variety of damage profiles. I have lots of damage-free shooting with the Battle Cannon Knight. He can shoot Death Guard vehicles into pieces. He can shoot Votan bikes, Berserkers, and even the transports complete pieces. He's perfect. He always split it. He has 18 shoot of Gatling. That's like so much shot, like you don't miss. You start to not miss the Brigands anymore. At the same time, you have a piece with the Tyrant. Starts to have very good anti-tank on range. Something you never had with Chaos Knights before, and something that also actually the Imperial Knights are lacking in a certain way, because their high AP shooting is only limited to 24 inches. So you have the 2 missiles, the Volcano Cannon, and the Plasma, and with the new buff from a detachment, it's actually worthwhile to play this data sheet. Nice about this is also we actually had 8 units, so we kind of have if we want to, we can screen our backfield, we can hold our back home objective, we can cannot trade, like we could trade 4 War Dogs for some time, even though they only have OC2, OC6 in the codex. It's still enough to trade onto the opponent's objective in many times. And all in all, this is a nice list. I would even go so far and say, like, this list you can play right now if you want to start with Chaos Knights. What is a bit lacking is I don't have demons, so I have no screens, no real screens, because the War Dog is also a very expensive screen and it's only one base, and I have no mission pieces because the War Dog is still not a mission piece. It's still too expensive to just trade them for a secondary mission. What's also downside on this composition of data sheets is that we have a variety of defensive profiles. So while the War Dog and also the Armiger as on its own doesn't really suffer much in its defensive capabilities when being downgraded to T9 and upgraded to 14 wounds, if you put a list with a variety of profiles, it really makes a difference. Suddenly players can go, the opponent can go and really split their fire. They have a random unit which has only strength 5, which would be usually almost useless against the big ones. So now they're like, oh, cool, I'm going to position it here, so it will be trading into your War Dog. They have lots of, actually, strength 10 is also crazy good now against these. And with certain armies, actually, like especially, but also Death Guard, this is very much the case. Like Death Guard, the drones are so good against War Dogs, and if they kill them, they really can use the for example, what's it called, the Death Shrouds for the big knights. Okay, now talked about the actual backbone of this, and that is the Infernal Lance detachment. Because while all these data sheets are good and could be played, I guess, in all of the detachment, except for the Wardog detachment, I guess, because then you have no buffs at all for the big knights. The Infernal Lance detachment is this one detachment that gives buffs to all of your data sheets. Like the Wardog has benefits from the greater movement, from the AOC in close combat, from the invulnerable save and the Fear No Pain, just as the Tyrant benefits a lot from getting sustained, lethal, or the assault enhancement. So you probably saw in the WTC as well. Let me see if I can get this. No, I cannot. There was a great overview, sorry, from StatCheck that I should have somewhere. Maybe it's even is it in the video description of this? No, it's not. It was one of our later earlier videos. Maybe someone can post it in the chat, where you could see all the detachment chosen, and Infernal Lance was the big winner of the WTC 2025. The talk in the internet was all about the Lords of Dread detachment, and I was even wondering, like, are people not seeing it? Because the Lords of Dread has nice features, has actually good stratagems, also has a very strong stratagem with the sticky objectives, but what it lacks is a very general support for all your datasheets. Infernal Lance makes every datasheet better, and it doesn't really matter what you take. The Lancer is better, it's faster, it has, it's faster, it's more durable. The Tyrant and the Despoiler are faster and actually more durable. Actually, the Despoiler with Pelican is only allowed to be played in an Infernal Lance detachment, because this is the only detachment where you have Ignore Cover. Otherwise, AP1 just gives you not enough. Even though the Atropos in this detachment doesn't benefit that much, because his he already have a invul save in close combat, so he doesn't really need the invul save from the Surge, the Malefic Surge. His weapon already has sustained on one, at least on one of them, so he doesn't really need the extra damage. But what he benefits a lot from is the extra movement. So you're moving 15 inches with Atropos, and that's amazing. One second. Okay, I'm back. CZ has a question in the chat, and I will answer it just in a second. Because, of course, I tried this list. I tried this list at our bootcamp. I tried this list at TTS. And I quickly found out certain downsides. First of all, the Lancer only does damage in one phase. That makes him very easy to predict. And, I mean, the close combat phase is... the range is very, very low. So you have to get into close combat. And to prevent that, it's pretty easy for the opponent to screen it. Even though your Lancer can move 17 inches, which is huge so far, I found myself again and again with opponents basically just screening the Lancer. Even screening the Lancer without much effort. They don't even need to like screen it with a unit where they move so far that the Lancer cannot fit the base over the unit and then thus needs to be in front of them. But even just putting a simple screen in front of the target that they don't want to get charged. And the reason why often this worked was that you don't have many models, you don't have many activations, and you don't want to waste you just want to kill them in close combat. You want to kill them with the Atropos in close combat. You might want to just take the Wardog into them and so on. So the Lancer had to go because it's just too easy to screen and to play around, and it doesn't really put pressure on the opponent. Very quickly, that's why on the other side, the Atropos often he doesn't do the same damage when he reaches combat, but he does similar damage. Like the Lancer basically like kills a vehicle. The Atropos in many cases also kills a vehicle, but the Atropos has shot before that as well. And he might not kill the vehicle in just his close combat, whereas the Lancer would, but he would kill it if he shoots and then charges it, thus making the Atropos much more difficult to deal with, and also giving you much more pressure on the board. And also making it more like self-sustained, because the Lancer basically doesn't do anything except it's babysitted by another knight that kills the screen in front of it. Okay, then to the Tyrant, and the question was already by Steezy in the chat. He said, is the Tyrant not a bit random due to his profile, has no fixed model number of shots, and it feels very inconsistent? Yes, exactly that. The Tyrant with sustained hits is very capable of killing a lot of things, and also has to be respected by many opponents. But because you already have very few units, you end up in a situation where if you shoot the Tyrant, he has to perform. And if he doesn't kill a thing, it is like you didn't have a knight this turn. And as you will see later, especially in the mirrors, this is completely unacceptable. I remember a mirror where I was like screening and measuring and checking line of sights with my opponent. Greetings to Lewis, who has been a great support for the Team Germany this year, and a very, very good contender for playing next year in Team Germany. He played the Tyrant against me, and I was screening and measuring and everything. And then we come to his turn, and he goes first, and he runs forward, and he shoots everything, and then he doesn't hit. So, and this happened again and again. And the reason actually why I was testing this a lot was that in Imperial Knights, it actually worked very well for me. I played the Tyrant or the Castellan with many small dogs, and there it works because the opponent is very afraid of it, and when it does the thing it's supposed to do, that's good for you. But if it doesn't, you still have a lot of other units to take care of the target. So that makes the Tyrant not viable in a Chaos Knight list, because you have so little shooting pieces. The shooting pieces in the Warlock section are completely out of question. Never play Executioner, never play a Brigand, and thus we are limited to less activations, whereas the Imperial Knights are still able to have a lot of activations with Halberds. Okay, and the last thing is main weapon. All the main weapons of the Tyrant are blast, so he can be tied up very easily. The same goes for the Spoiler Knight with the double Bedicans, and I put a lot of thought in that, but we will come to that later. Yeah, and as already said, the Warlocks end up being always the prime target. So I was a bit like, do I really want to play 4 Warlocks? So here we come to the second list. The second list got more knights, actually got 5 big knights, more big knights, 5 big knights, and only 2 small knights anymore. So we go to the Atropos. Basically, one of the Lancer becomes an Atropos, exactly from the thinking I have been rolling out for you just once. Perform to always get the damage in, because it has a high number of shots, a relative low cost compared to the other knights. Like the Atropos is more expensive, the Tyrant's more expensive, thus letting us play more, put more in the list of these data sheets. And there was also a variant I tested, and this is actually the variant I tested. This the second list was playing one mixed despoiler, giving a chainsword and a Gatling gun. The Gatling gun is a really good weapon because also in Inferno Lands it has lethal hits, and with lethal hits you can shoot at every target you want to. You can even, if there's no other target, shoot at T12, because that's all right. You will get some damage in with rolling for 6s twice. But in general, this is a very highly versatile data sheet. And I was even testing it with a mixed version. Why is it a mixed version here? Because I noticed that people are really trying to tie up the spoilers. And I kind of need a screen around them to not let them get to them too easily. And when you start to think about it, you also come to the conclusion that whenever you are in a position where you can shoot and fight with the knight, you actually have more damage than you would usually have. Like the sweep from the Shane sword is like, what is it, 12 attacks or 10 attacks? It's a lot, and it has AP3 and 2 damage. So it's like, this is, if you get to use it, it's better than another Gatling gun. And I found myself like being in close combat with many knights in many with more than just the 2 knights in many turns. So that was the list after that. Let me check what's the tax on Shane sword. Mixed, the spoiler is totally viable. I was still running 2 war dogs, and yeah, then let's go on. I was still running 2 war dogs, and the pros of this list is I have all the good data sheets. I now have, after some practice, boiled down to these are the best data sheets. Like the spoiler is great. The carnivore, if he connects, he's a great piece. He can even be tougher than people want them to be, because the strats work on the carnivore in Infernal Lands. And I still have 8 units, which is still, it's not much, but it's still like you can screen with 2 carnivores in the back, or you can put a guy on the middle objective, trade them, let the opponent come out, and then shoot them to death. Okay. Yeah. Still, like, what I still don't have is demons, because actually one of the big reasons is because we were running demons in the teams, and it was already set. It wasn't even an option. But if I would run this list, I might switch 1 carnivore out and get some demons, because suddenly you can have, like, what do you get? Like 3 units of Nurglings, or 2 and a beast, and that gives you a lot of screen. I think I'm not sure if I had an enhancement in this list. I think you might be able to even squeeze in 4 Nurgle units, 4 demon units. I played it at a small tournament, and like a GT before that, where I tested it out, and actually works really well in a variety of matchups. Okay, but what I still found in many matchups is we still have the weakest link with the carnivore. The carnivore still dies very quickly. The opponent basically kills it while fighting the other knights. And also, this is actually the most important thing, is the carnivore has to run at the opponent, has to get into melee. While 17 inches is a lot, he really has to stage, go around the ruin, and then make it charge. On reroll to hit and one reroll to wound, I might have stayed on this list and played 2 Helvins, but I cannot. I have just Executioner. Executioner, complete garbage, and that's why I was looking for other options. And these are the other options I found. So this is my 3rd army list. This is the Pyra list. The list I brought to the Pyra team tournament just before the WTC. That has been was later copied by a variety of other national teams there, which makes me very, very humble, and I was really happy about, because they like this list. And the funny thing about this list is it has 3 Abominants. Holy shit. I looked at Abominant, I was like, nah, let's play the other things. Like, let's play the Terrestrial Knights, who always have, the Invul, which are faster, have good guns, reliable guns, and so on. And yeah, turns out, if you want to only shoot, and if you don't want to play carnivores, and you have no access to demons, that's the list. And I would still say that's the list, because here you get the spoilers with the most, which you can buff with Lethal, Sustained, and Ignore Cover, which is the best shooting platforms in your book. You have 4 pieces which can screen them, which can push forward, which can all fight, who also do damage. Like, guys, you have to know that the Atropos is also very unreliable, and many people who have played some games know that the Chaos Knight Atropos is even more unreliable. because sometimes he has 6 shots and he just 1 shots a knight. Happened. One times he does 0 damage. Happened as well. So same goes actually for the abominants. They're really unreliable. But what this does is that it really gives me all knights that shoot. Every single knight of my army can shoot. Whenever I see someone in the open, each of my knights can shoot. And what I learned from playing this, actually the abominants do damage. Like not in a reliable manner, but in a manner that is enough. That is actually more than enough, and actually they did huge damage. So let's go pros and cons again. No weakest link. I have 4 units with melee. The abominant actually has better, like a better sweep, which is not a sweep, than the Atropos for killing like units that try to pin you up. Like the Atropos without the one reroll to hit and wound, which the Imperial Knight version has, can often be tagged by units like of 5 JPIs or something, and that's more unlikely, much less likely with the abominant. Everything shoots, as I said, and now we get to some very important, very interesting things that also, I mean, kind of like made me happy that this worked out in this way. And that is, on the one side, I can force Battle Shocks, which shut down defensive strats and abilities. They will come up in the matchups later. But also, I actually unlock the Harbinger of Dread table. Let me jump to the next slide for that. Here you have the table. So the table was completely reworked for the Codex. Before that, like in the very beginning, it was like actually only in turn 3 you got some the certain buffs you wanted, or like you got good buffs. Then later it was changed so you get actually good buffs in already in the first turn. So when someone was battle shocked, they would get -1 to hit, you get +1 to wound, and also they always had to battle shock. It was in 12 inches, and they get -1. So actually, the index version was pretty good at the end of the index cycle, and this version now was very different because even though there was a big buff in that being darkness, the third option, always giving you -1 to hit if the opponent is over 18, basically making your whole army stealth if the opponent shoots at you, which in most of the situations, because people rarely want to come into 18 inches to a Chaos Knight army. But it also means you had to choose, or as some people do, and I have never done, roll for what of the things you get. So that actually meant that if you were playing the index version and then like going into turn 1, turn 2, you had way less buffs from it than before. And I found myself picking in every matchup where the opponent had at least 1 gun which had more than 18-inch range, darkness. Feeling not too bad about it, that I have -1 to hit and basically stealth, and I don't know, being happy when my knight and my opponent just keeps rolling keeps rolling 3s on his shooting attacks, and then happy to take them out. But yeah, so if you play 3 abominants, and I would argue that maybe 2 is also enough, but I wouldn't go that road, you can start picking completely different things. And here's some example. You can start to pick Doom in the first battle round, which is +1 to wound if the opponent is battle shocked. That means your whole army gets +1 to wound against tough targets. If the opponent plays Space Marines with big vehicles, if they play Tyranids, Demons, other knights, most important, other knights, you start to go, let me go back, you start to go with your Gatling gun. Your Gatling gun has strength 6, used to wound like a big knight on 6s because they used to have strength toughness 12. Now they have only toughness 11. You get +1 to wound to that. So you start shooting with your Gatling, getting +1 to wound, wounding on 4s. Because they will be battle shocked, they will not have the ability to rotate. So you can also proc ignore cover on this guy, and then they will only have a 5-up save. I have one-shotted knights multiple times with this guy after the opponent failing its battle shock test. But By the way, I will have 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers, and I will go through them in the chat. So please stay until the end. Hello, Baron. Welcome in the chat. Yeah, so it's huge. It's huge. I would also emphasize that you don't have to take Doom, because sometimes it's enough that, for example, against Space Marines, you don't take Doom, you take Darkness, even though they have a lot of hulls, or some hulls that are very annoying for you. But you want to be a bit more tough. But because you have 3 Abominants, you can turn off their Armor of Contempt and their Smoke. And suddenly, the whole math is different. Suddenly, they don't, like, if you catch them sometimes in the open, they cannot smoke. Sometimes your battle cannon can split at stuff. It's crazy. It's so much better, and it really gives you a lot for playing against tanks and monsters. Next thing, Despair. Giving you extra -1 leadership. While the 9 inches feel kind of like a buff, a nerf to the previous 12 inches from the index, being able to put -2 from the first battle round onto everything in 9 inches, and then forcing the battle shocks is super strong. Basically, what you do is, if you play against a Horde, World Eaters, and even World Eaters don't need to be a Horde type, but if you play against anything that has good defensive mechanisms that can catch you off guard, but they kind of want to be at you. Like, for example, Space Marines, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take Despair, because you rather want to be a bit more tough. But actually, you could take it against, if it's like a melee only one, to not let them take Armor of Contempt. But whatever. The main reason that's important is against Hordes. So the World Eaters, they are trying their tests on 8. And you can force up to 3 tests. You can even force up to 5 tests, because there's one strat in the 4 tests, because there's one strat which forces another battle shock in the Infernal Lance detachment. So that basically tells you, oh, I'm going to ignore your search move. I'm going to ignore your get up into the reserve again. That's the GSC matchup. Very important for the GSC matchup. GSC basically has the strat which forces the opponent to not shoot at them and try to go in combat with them, because if they shoot a unit, and don't kill it, which many armies have problems with, they take the rest of the unit, put it up in reserves, and let it come in, like, immediately after shooting. That's one strat, and bring it back, and then in what chance ever, I don't know, but have the ability to kill, have the possibility to kill a knight. And for example, with EK, you cannot shoot at GC. With this list, which I play, you just actually battle shock up to 3 targets. What you need is only 2. You finish one unit with one despoiler by shooting both weapons at it, because you have actually not enough shots to kill a unit in one go. And then you split the other knight. And then then you first shoot with, like, the Abominance or something, like try to weather them down, and then split the other knight. So this list, because of the 3 despoilers, the 3 Abominants in combination with the 2 despoilers, have the ability to finish off 3 units of Gene Stealers, Freddy Man with character and so on, in just 1 turn, easily. Yeah, and like, I would never go and play 3 Abominants and some War Dogs, or play 3 Abominants and some other thing, but this really works together, and it only works together in that way, as far as I have experience with. Last thing is, it's a bit of a niche thing, and as I said already, you want to avoid the Eldari match anyways, but against very MSU focused list, you are able to actually kill off quite some MSU units if they're only like one model, like one wound models, with taking Delirium from the first turn on. And what you do is, actually, you force mortal wounds with the spoilers at the end of your movement phase. And for example, there would be, I don't know, a unit of rangers, and you bring 2 in. You have 2 rolls on a 3+. They might get 3 mortals, so they would be under half, and then you force their battle shocks and you kill them. And what's great about this, actually, against the MSU things, is against MSU, it gives you more activations, which come out of nothing. And if you would be playing only, I don't know, 3 spoilers and 3 Atropos, you wouldn't have as many activations for these small little units, I think. Okay, last part, of course, the cons. And the cons are actually quite big and really make you play different. The cons are you only have 6 units. You only have 6 fucking units. Every unit counts. And it varies a lot on the secondaries that your opponent chooses. Because if they play fixed, not only have you only 6 units, but every unit is 10 secondary points for them. But it means you have to take a lot of care in how you use your units. I will go into this more later. But it basically means you have no screen. You cannot screen at all. I played a lovely guy from South Africa in our first round with probably, I don't know, like we had a huge gap of player experience. And I know a lot what his army does. He probably, I think he didn't know that much what he can do. But he just shows engage and deploy, I think, engage and locus. And I have no way of screening that and denying that. So you will have to face, no matter what the opponent does and what the army, like no matter, I mean, how hard you try, or I don't know, you have to face the reality that with this army, your opponent will score these points. They will do engage. You cannot deny that. And what I think you shouldn't try. Same goes for no mission pieces. We don't have mission pieces in the army. We cannot say, oh, we will just only do this in this turn if this ends up putting 1/6 of our army in maybe in a bad spot. But I will come more to that later when I come to play. Okay, general playstyle. The general playstyle of this army is coming from these advantages and disadvantages that we have laid just on the slide before. We try to like not put our thoughts from previous lists and styles on it. Just try to play what this army forces us, like gives us, what options it gives us, but also what restriction it gives us. And from this comes the following goals. What I focused on, and if you want to copy this list or if you try a variation of this list, should also focus on. And the first thing is focus on attrition war. So this list has all big knights. Every weapon that's strength 4 or 5 is pretty much useless against it. Every unit that has no capacity of doing any damage to a knight is just a screen. It's just a mission piece. Does nothing in the attrition war. Can be ignored. Should be only taken in consideration whether it's going to be move blocking you or something else. Also because you have a lot of OC. Each of these knights has 10 OC. So if there's 5 JPIs jumping on your objective, you don't care. You have enough OC. If there's 5 JPIs jumping on your objective, throwing a grenade, doing like the best, I don't know what's called, like Hammer of Wrath, mortal wounds, whatever, the charge mortals they do. And then the fist does 6 damage or whatever. Crazy amount of damages of the ludicrous JPIs. It still doesn't matter. The marker will still be yours because you will have more OC than your opponent, and your knight will not die to these little trading pieces. Okay, very important. So you need to know what are the pieces that actually hurt me, and focus on that. Because you have limited units, you need to also focus a lot on your next turn and plan. I say always plan the next shooting phase. You are in total a shooting phase that sometimes, if the opponent lets you, also slaps in close combat. Usually, I end up fighting, I don't know. I would say some turns, like I would say the Atropos maybe it fights 2 times or 1 to 2 times in a battle, and same goes for other bombs. Like I'm mainly shooting. So you need to focus on the shooting army. That means you need to focus, and actually I can show this. I have these spare bases, magnetized and everything, and I have like 3 of them. So you need to prepare when you place your model where it can go next turn. And actually, the only thing that makes this work is because we have towering and we can just touch terrain and then see over it. So what you need to do is you plan the attrition war. You find out what kills you and see how you can get to killing it via range and line of sight. Or I will come to that later, of pulling them out with maybe Abominant. And then you put your knight where you know that in the next turn you will be able with 10 or 13 inches touch another terrain piece. Yes, exactly. So that's very important because you only have knights and 6 models, and also because whenever you actually need to be like this to stand there, then you will have -2 inches, and then you move only 8 or only 11, and that's a big deal. And we have no advance and shoot, we have no foreback shoot, we have no charge, foreback charge, and so on. Okay. You should also only screen for damage. What do I mean? Like, as I said before, we cannot screen secondaries. We will waste too much material standing around, not really interacting with the opponent if we try to screen our deployment zone. I have actually also not screened my home objective at points when I knew that if my opponent goes, when I made this sticky and knew that if my opponent drops onto this, I would be able to get a good kill on this unit, for example, in a Death Guard matchup. And I would trade maybe 5 points primary by getting this unit there and not being able to make a good effort in the attrition war. Secondaries are kind of fake for this army, and they always have been for Chaos Knights with the 13 Warlock style in a very important role, in a very important way. And that is, you are not allowed to trade models for secondaries in the first 1 to 3 turns. Because if you do that, you will go from winning the attrition to losing the attrition. If you put a big knight on the middle objective because you want to do area deny, if you put a knight, I don't know, sometimes on your home objective because you want to, in turn 2, you want to score defense stronghold, but this knight could be shooting 2 targets or shoot 1 and charge 1, you will lose the attrition war, and you will have less opportunity in later turns to score the secondaries. I will show you later my secondary scores. I have for most of my games. I have photos for my score sheet, but that's basically how it goes. And what I usually do to my coaching clients is that I give them a little graph, which goes like this. And this is turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the secondary score will usually be like, I don't know, maybe 3 here, maybe a 0 here, and then maybe, I don't know, like an 8 here, and then maybe a 10 here, 10 here, and then, I don't know, another 8 or something. And then you will not have the best secondary game in the world, but your opponent, so where you are having like this kind of graph, your opponent will usually have like and then fall off as you go, because they stop using units, because they stop having units because they will be using the units to screen you, to block you from movement, from shooting you, and so on. And it goes, as I said, it basically goes both ways. If you put your knight on your home objective to defend it and not on the flank to be able with 13 inches or 10 inches touch the other object, this specific rune to get some shooting angles, your opponent doesn't need to use a unit to screen that. You might have the feeling that, oh, my opponent always screens me for the first 2 turns. I never get out of my deployment zone, and they always do this many points. I can never stop them. Well, they are losing a lot of units while doing that, and they're not doing any meaningful damage to you. And they will later miss these units in many cases. Okay, except for when they're elder, then can just do whatever. When your opponent plays fixed, it's very important that you never trade for points. Never ever. Because every model means 10 points. It's worth 10 points. And whenever you have the feeling of, oh, I could get this point advantage by doing this thing, you have to subtract 10 points from that, because your opponent is going to get that. There will be many cases where it's still worth it, where you can go forward, deny a marker, your opponent has to come out, kill the knight, get, like, you do -5 points primary for them, they get plus 10 points for themselves, and it looks like they get plus 5 points towards you, but then you just kill the units that the only anti-tank units they have, and then you can go on from there, and then they will not get any more secondary points. This is okay. This is allowed, but it's never ever allowed to trade a knight for points. being at secondary or primary points, because you will have to subtract 10 secondary points from that. Okay, if they play tactical against you, some armies might do, this usually means the damage anyways. And then actually you should try to rush their primary. Make sure they don't get any primary. Make sure they are stuck on their home objective. Be aware that they will still score their home objective, because your knights, they might be fast with 13 to 15 inches. They might move through everything, but your opponent is not stupid. Your opponent will be able to screen you long enough, and your opponent will have armies tucked away in the home objective that can kill knights, and you don't want to come too close to them. So just leave them there, their home objective, but you will have to deny their secondary primary objective, and you will just score more primary than them. In many cases, if they're playing tactical, that means they also have a lot of MSU, and you have to be and you have to be aware that they will most likely have a lot of units that they can still use for secondaries, even in later turns. That could be scouts, that could be, I don't know, rangers, that could be, I don't know, random. What do people these days have? I guess Space Marine scouts are the most prevalent. Some demons with some uppy downy stuff. So you should be aware of that, and you should be aware that you cannot screen that, and they will make these points, and thus you need to make sure you get your primary points quicker than them. And yeah, and that also means that sometimes you will have the situation where they even in turn 5 they score good secondary. So maybe the graph, if they're playing tactical, maybe the graph still goes like this, and you are not super happy about it. But then your primary just needs to be way higher than them, and you should in the later turns then end up on their home objective actually. Okay, one very important comment, because we are talking about fixed just now. Fixed secondary means that, let me draw the graph again, means that your opponent can score whenever they kill a unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 1 to 5. That means they often score 0 here. And actually, depending on your playstyle, or not on the playstyle, but the opportunities you have, they might score a 0 here as well. Because, we focused on the attrition. We didn't sacrifice our knight. We killed some units of them. We didn't let them activate their anti-tank pieces too easily, and made sure that if they come out, we can easily kill them, and thus they maybe hide and they wait for it. So that maybe means they still have made no secondary points in the first 2 rounds, but they could still make a lot in the later rounds. And yeah, as I said, this makes the focus on the attrition war even more important, because even though you feel like you're ahead, you could go way down again if you play carelessly. And at the same time, of course, the all-beloved challenger cards could give them 3 points, 3 points, and even here 3 points. So I have always thought about my first and second turn, whether I want to give my opponent challenger cards. I think in many cases it's viable to actually just get the points yourself, because they might get 3 points or get a cool card to do something funky with it. But if you are going like you're getting an 8 and you're getting like a 6 or something, I think it's still worth it, because in many cases they still have to do something to get the challenger card, or as soon as possible, so we can start the attrition war on our terms, and then kill them, and then just score primary and eventually secondaries. Because, I mean, to be honest, in the end, when we are fighting them, we are pretty good at scoring our secondaries, because we can do actions even in shooting, or even in melee, and yeah. So that's actually, and we have a lot of OC, so just like one knight on the marker just gives us storm and stuff. Okay, so far so good to the general playstyle. I am already at 55 minutes. I knew it, and I actually haven't talked about a single game yet. There bunch of questions in the chat. I will talk about the spoiler, and I will talk about Swedish list after this, but I will show you like a little bit typical deployment looks like. So this is a typical deployment, and it was against Blood Angel player in the Warmasters, who actually, I think he's French, but he's not part of the French team. And we had a great game, and you can see here, I am deploying quite aggressively with these knights. I'm expecting their potential advance and charge, first turn charge stuff. But what you should also put your focus on is that I'm screening Battle Cannon Knight. The Battle Cannon Knight is always the red one here. And I'm kind of screening the Gatling Knight. The Gatling Knight is a bit more forward, might be applicable, recommended in some cases, because my opponent has scouts that can scout and maybe advance and charge and then charge him. I think he put them a bit defensively, so I was happy to put my knight here, and as a trade-off for me, I get actually this opportunity. He can move 13, touch this. He can move 13, touch this. And this gives me already some really nice angle. This gives me this angle. This gives me this angle. And this gives me this angle. So that's what I mean. Your shooting phase is the most important phase. And whenever you are still away from your next shooting phase, you have to plan for that. So that means when you're deploying, you have to plan and preferably place a base, an empty base, somewhere to make sure that you can be there. So he's positioned in a way, so he will have all the shooting angles. And by deploying him a bit more aggressive, it always means that your opponent will deploy a bit more defensive. Like here, this whole thing, there's nothing where my opponent can go. Here's empty. And actually, my opponent also made sure that this is empty. And my knight here, like we checked that this is basically just a no angle, just barely. Okay. As I said, the Atropos and the Despoiler, they are screening kind of the spoilers. You can also, like here, I think it was not necessary, but you could put the spoiler a little bit more here. And then what you would have is something actually Arne with his Imperial Knights does amazingly. Make sure that this and this is 6 inches. And thus, if your opponent ends up coming with their scouts and try to tie up your spoiler, you can already heroically intervene. And as I said, the Abominant is great at killing just random screens with 5 models, because they have built-in sustain, so they basically hit on 2s, wound on 2s. Yeah, so that's the basic deployment. Deploying more forward. The more forward you deploy, the more your opponent has to respect it. Make sure you can get the angles. And then also another thing, make sure you check for the angles. This deployment here, this layout has this angle, this angle, this angle. Actually, if you touch this angles, and if you touch these angles. And you want to prepare yourself so you can get to these angles, so you can shoot at the objectives. So by putting, so when I put my knight here, my despoiler, I was checking exactly this angle, or actually this one as well, and potentially this one. So you want to see that basically in turn 2, your opponent has no way of hiding from you. And if you are too defensive, you will not get there, and your opponent will have too much of opportunity to develop their position, and then we start not seeing anything and not get the shots off. For example, here is a ruin. This is a ruin, and your opponent can always easily hide behind that. So I purposely put just straight up my Atropos, and here comes in play with this 15-inch movement. He can go 15 and touch this, and then he can shoot in here, shoot behind it, and actually even can shoot here, which made my opponent hide further back here. Goes back a little bit. And when I study this map, I already know general movement wants to be like this. General movement wants to be like this, with the option of being able to touch this, with the option of being able to touch this, and then getting the angles down here, 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 and here. Okay. Yeah, and here's the typical scoring. There was scoring against the Blood Angel. He didn't put shoes fixed. I basically had the same primary. We played, I think, Terraform. I ended up, I will write it so you can better read it, 42 points, and he had 39 primary points. I ended up with 32 secondary points, and he ended up with 23 secondary points. I even got a challenger myself, and that actually also happens a lot, because when we are focusing on the attrition war, your opponent will start making cards, and you might do less cards. Your opponent might go and deny you a primary point, but I'm just wondering why because barely. I have barely less points than my opponent. You also get a card there, and you can use that. Actually, you can use that a lot by using that for advance and shoot, advance and charge, forward and charge, for extra movement, and so on. I myself feel I got very few. Only seldom happened that I was challenger, and I never got anything important. But it can happen, and some players that played knight at the tournament I know that happened to them a lot. Okay. So here you have the typical scoring. Much more. So it's a 77 to 62 than you might expect. Because I said in the beginning, we focus on the attrition war, we focus on killing our opponent, and we score late. And yeah, that's what we do. And when we do that, and your opponent has lots of units and does proper move block, we cannot kill them right away. Because if we try to kill them right away, actually in many cases your opponent will be able to kill you. Like, for example, my opponent had some good anti-tank shooting, and he had like these sword centurions and so on that just can one-shot a knight, blah, 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 blah. Yep, that's the end of the game. I'm standing on my opponent's home objective. I lost 3 knights. I still have 2 spoilers left. And I think it came down to me being able to kill like yet another unit. So that's like a very nice mixed game, I would say. Okay, then now I want to talk about the mirror, which I played. Let's show you guys again. I played the mirror 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times out of 13 games. Oh god, I couldn't do it anymore after a while. But the list was fine because 2 things. I shoot actually as well or even better than the Imperial Knights. I ended up shooting better than all the Chaos Knights I played against, except the one that was direct mirror of my list. And because we both cannot rush each other. So for the singles, I already said that in my matchup overview, this means that actually if you go first, it's really hard to go first and rush your opponent, because be it EK or CK, they can kill you. But with the teams event, it doesn't matter whether you lose 9, 11, or you win 11 and 9 that much for the whole team. So you can play also very conservative. You pick fixed, you play the attrition war, and when they come out, if they try to push you, this army with 6 shooting pieces has not enough damage to kill your opponent. And actually, if they try, you would usually taper them. I like a game in the Warmasters, my second game, 17-3 against the EK list with the 3 Atropos, and I tapered him wholly. Even and I didn't lose a single more than my one Abominant was like left on 1 wound and was hiding behind a ruin. But this can 100% also happen. But maybe okay. Sorry, Tumbleweed. I will go on to all the questions just at the end of this. I will just talk about this match. The mirror is because I think it was so prevalent, and because I also have heard people say that EK is always in favor to CK, and then I will go through the questions. I think that's enough then for today. Okay, so in the CK-EK matchup or the CK-CK matchup, whatever it is, if both players have a decent amount of shooting, and this list had with 3 Atropos, Camus Rex, and 3 Helverins, no one can present their army for all the damage that the opponent has. Thus, it is a very drawish matchup. It is very helpful if you play on an open board to have screens and or low knobs or small units that can actually hold objectives. This unit cannot do this. In the teams, I would be able to not play on this open board, and thus choose a table like this where and you can already see this, my pre-measurement base is here, put a knight here behind a ruin, just hold it. I would be in 1 inch, but that's okay. Make it sticky, go away, and my opponent would not be able to take it. So I will be making 5 points for my nice natural expansion, and my opponent would do the same. You're basically approaching a draw. So now there are a few ways to push for the differential in the mirror. And one thing is you isolate your opponent. You try to fight only against a few. I've seen that people do that wrong. And for example, the EK match I had in the singles, very much so, where my opponent didn't push enough. And one big part here is actually that the CK list that we have here has more range than the EK versions. Even though the range of the Heavens is very far, my whole army shoots 30 to 36 inches, except for the Atropos, but he's also a bit faster. He also moves faster. So I was able to, and I will not sure I can show this. Yeah, I can show this here. So this was actually not a mirror because my opponent had melee knights, 3 lancers and 1 Atropos and 1 Canis. And the Atropos is here and Canis is here. And their movement is 10 and 12. And my range is 36 and 30. And as long as I do proper pre-measurement and my opponent messes up that the front of his base, or like the front of his base is, hold on, what's the message? 6 inches. No, wait, even more so. No, even more, sorry. Then I can shoot with my Abominants. Yeah, because my Abominants have 30-inch range. And that's actually also what happened in this game. Like I put my, I just put like, I think 1 or 2 Abominants like here. I think it was only 1 because I couldn't fit everyone in. But 1 Abominant here. And then, I think it was here. I put him here. And then I'm in 30 here. But I'm in 36 here. So my opponent has no way of getting into range because his movement is not enough. And with this list, you can outshoot your opponent a lot of times. How to prevent that is actually if you give any shooting targets, just like in any other threat overload army or tough army or whatever. If you give some targets, you have to give a lot of targets. So actually, what my opponent should have done is put like the Atropos much closer to the other knights and anticipate that. I must say though that I think the knights mirrors were a lot of times where people had a hard time anticipating what actually the damage output from the different knights are. Okay, so that's that. And then I wanted to say exactly what's the opportunity to push to separate the opponent, and that's either by range, as I just showed in the EK match, or by line of sight. And I actually did this here. So you can separate in getting into positions where your opponent can only shoot you with a few things. The best way to do this is actually with a rapid ingress. So every EK player should put Canis Rex in reserve. I always put, except for the one stupid game I lost, put a Atropos into reserve. And what you can do is get into position. So he reserved here, and then he went over here. And now my opponent has 2 of his knights, which cannot shoot. They cannot shoot this, they cannot shoot this, they cannot shoot this. They cannot shoot this, they cannot shoot this, they cannot shoot nothing. So my opponent comes out, and he has to because I'm standing there holding the objective, getting 5 points, can make a sticky. He comes out, and I don't even put 4 invul on myself because he just kills him right away. But now suddenly he killed with 2 knights 1, and I myself have 5 knights in total who can kill his two knights back. And that's totally what's the capacity of this shooting is. So, and now even if my opponent would be able to, let's say, kill another knight in shooting with these two, I would have 4 again, and then I can kill. Maybe I don't kill 2 again, but maybe I kill 1, and then he would have 1. And maybe if it's close combat, he can kill another one. So that would be that. Then I would have 3 against 1 again, and I would win the attrition war. Yeah. Okay. So, and my opponent actually realized that as well, and it was like a really cool game. So he came out, shot this guy because he had to. Then he got 10 points. Then I come out with all my stuff. Okay, this doesn't show it. But then I came out with these things. Everyone here, touching, kill these things, and then my opponent just hides. He just went back, and because he had a return turn, I also just hide and just stay out, so he cannot get my objectives, and so on. And with the end result was actually this photo here. It came down whether he can advance onto the middle objective. He could have gotten extra 5 points for that. Then would be 10-10. Actually, this was even 11-9 for me because I was able to do like a 1 push here with the rapid ingress and kill 2 knights instead of him only killing 1 knight. Okay. Yeah, and if you mess this up, you die. That's just it. If you mess this up, if he would have pushed, he would have died, like many others. So I think that's enough for that, and we can go to questions. And there was a question coming for that. So let's start with this. Matthew asked, what are your thoughts on swapping the Atropos for double Gatling? The spoiler, how important is the Atropos in your list in your mind? I've been running a variant for the last weeks and having good success. I'm curious if you're thinking that Atropos is needed. So with the Atropos, I have been debating that to myself as well. It's actually the Belgium variant after they saw my list. For my list is not playing the Atropos, but playing one more the spoiler with Assault. I like that version a lot because Assault is cool. Actually, the double Gatling helps you in a lot of matchups. If we go to our meta overview, it helps you a lot against. It helps you actually against Eldari. It is great against T-Suns, I would say. It's good against any hordes, against World Eaters, all this stuff. Against all these horde things, Atme. Actually, no, Demon's a bit boy. And actually makes the ledger like easier to play. And actually, you would able to push more for the differential. But what I really think is that you have trouble playing the Chaos Knight match. You have trouble playing the Imperial Knight matchup, and trouble. And you are a little bit worse in the Death Card matchup. And with these ones being prevalent, and I mean, I also end up having to play 7 times Chaos Knight Imperial Knights. I'm really happy I took the Atropos, because even though that Atropos is swingy, he has high movement 15, that gets you a lot of times into position to get shooting angles, to get hiding places, get charges off, and also he does good damage. Even if he's like, yes, he has a high variance or so, but having a double Gatling Knight shoot into an opponent knight, or having a Atropos shoot and charge into a knight is different. And also being charged with a Gatling Knight and being charged with Atropos is also different. So I think the Atropos gives you a lot of movement capabilities, a lot of damage in the knight matchups and Death Card matchups. And in total, you just have to not like rely on him too much. Like don't expect him to to always do great damage, but use him as a threat. Because if we go to this matchup again, here, the Atropos here is the only knight with 15 inches that is able to touch this. And because he is, it's the only knight that gets this angle, and that's why your opponent will always put the stuff here more further back or hide it more in the back. And that's already enough. You don't like the best Atropos is the one that basically never shoots and only maybe sometimes shoot charge some scouts, I would guess. And then dies to like the super duper anti-tank unit that your opponent has prepared for him, which you then easily can kill. So like my aim would be in many rounds to actually lose the Atropos and won the next question from So first of all, against heavy melee threats, in my my WTC role, I usually got a table, which helped a lot. But in my practice, actually, I said, guys, I don't want to be totally dependent on the table, and I tried it. And it does work if you play it correctly. So against melee armies, you have to be very careful of positioning your despoilers, because if they manage to tie you up, then you cannot kill the units properly. But otherwise, what you do is you put a knight forward and you kind of disrespect their threat, and then either if they super commit and you do the math, you get some expectation range, you let the knight die, or you pump all your defensive buffs into it and then survive. I didn't want to show this match too much because it was very one-sided, but I have actually also photos from the game against USA and the World Eaters, and I can show you how I played this in a bit. Let me see. Yeah, I can show this here. Just you should be able to see it. Yeah, so this is my World Eater match, and I thought a lot of time about where to put my Atropos and my Vatican Knight. And I thought about, just as I just talked about in the beginning, what are the shooting angles I want, what are the stuff I want to touch. And also I thought about where I want to be standing for the rapid ingress, because you have to, that's why you have the bases here. Like the spoiler can stand here. And then I think I should put him here so he can actually shoot in almost all the directions for rapid ingress strat. And the same thing with the other spoiler, I can put one here. So that's very important. Like if you have deep strike, melee threat, you need to use, you cannot screen them, but you need to threaten them with your towering, I just kill you when I see you knights. And then otherwise what you do is, and what I did here is, I pre-measure this knight. I put him so in the direction while I'm deploying him that he can fit onto the marker when he stands there. Also taking into account his tail, his weapon, and everything, talking with my opponent, of course. Then I count my CP, how many CP I will use in the first turn, and how many I will have in the opponent turn. And then I make my move, and then I put the knight basically here. On the marker, disrespecting the charge he would have from the ruin here with the Khan unit and 10 Berserkers. And I have played this before. I know Khan and 10 Berserkers, they would have the capability of killing him in some world. There would be some, I don't know, some percentage. He could throw a grenade. He could charge me with, I don't know, some other things. He could bring a Mauler feed here, Forge feed and shoot me. But I have to do it, because if I don't do it, I will just give him the space and he will zone me easily without doing anything and can wait for a long time. By putting my knight there, and even if I lose him, I will still be happy because I just killed a unit that killed me before. And that's why we play 6 big knights. That's why we don't play 4-4. That's why we don't play 5-5. Because when we put a big knight there and your opponent kills them, they need to get their proper knight killing units. And by us killing that, they won't have enough left for the other 5 that are left. Yeah, so Matthew, I'm glad that helps you. I would go a little bit about whether you want to play the, like, I think it depends a bit also where you are in the pairing, because in a, like, if I'm defending first or second, I have to be able to play knights, and that's where the Atropos helps a lot. And if you are more like left in the back and you really, I don't know, you want to just like a lot of people are running hordes. You just want to crush them with hordes, crush these hordes, then triple the spoiler. It's definitely also very nice. I think the Atropos is basically the safer way. Okay. Yeah, and see, this was Defgar, Word Eaters, but it would go the same way against Black Templar. Like, there was a Black Templar list in one of our opponent's roasters. I don't remember fully which nation that was anymore. I'm sorry, but I remember I was also giving myself a good estimation even on a closed table, because I'm sure I like good estimation mean like this is a draw plus some upside for a win, depending on table go first, and like how we both play this out, meaning that I will let him charge me at some point eventually. I will not let him charge me with 3 of his back units, with all of his combos on, and then pile into my despoilers. But as long as I don't do that, they will have not enough left to kill the other big nuts. Okay, that was Gumblebee. Then we have a question from A. Eichinger. What do you think of indirect on the spoiler? Love it, mainly to ping down one guy from Tennessee staff or Scourges. I really don't like the indirect weapon on the spoiler, and I think you are stuck in the. Sorry, I'm very blunt. Stuck in the old index. I loved playing index 13 war dogs. With the indirect, you can start killing extra units, or even better, just killing one model at each unit and then making them start taking battle shocks all over the place. I think that was great, really spreading chaos all around the opponent army. But my opinion is this doesn't work anymore, because these 6+1 strength 5 attacks hitting on 4s, wounding maybe on 3s, an opponent usually has a 3-up save against that doesn't do enough. On the other side, the rockets, the 3 rockets, strength 8, AP2, D6 damage, they always do a lot. And you have another weapon to split. So what I often do is, if I'm really like turn 2, turn 3 in the midst of the fight, I split 1 Gatling gun here, 1 Gatling gun there, 1 rocket into the Rhino, 2 flamers into the scouts, and whatever. And then I see what happens. And sometimes the rockets kill a Rhino. Sometimes they do 3 damage, sometimes nothing. And then I finish the Rhino, for example, finish it off. Or maybe there's like an infantry unit with a character. I first shot the character unit, the unit away, and then there's a character left, and then I shoot the rocket from the other spoiler into that. Yeah, Matthew. If you know you won't play against knights, then you might be fine with the double Gatling, with the 3 spoilers. Okay. What do I think about this Swedish players list with 3 spoilers and Roticus? Björn with his Swedish list, who ended up getting best Chaos Knights. Congratulations on that occasion as well. His list. Okay, you see that? You see it? Okay. Is 3 spoilers, Gatling, and 3 Carnivores, 1 Stalker, 1 Beast of Nurgle, 2 Nurglings, and 1 Nauticus. This list looks actually very similar to the one I played at this German GT, where they actually had a rule of 3 for big knights, because they wanted to give people a good time playing in a fucking knight meta. And what I found is exactly what I said in the beginning. I found that yeah. The variety of defensive profiles makes the war dogs be much easier to kill, and makes the opponent have, I think, better opportunity. Like, for example, if you take the matchup I had against, I think it probably also changes the role, but let me take this matchup. If I take away my 3 big knights, 4 big knights, get another spoiler, and get small stuff, my opponent would be able to kill the small stuff I put in front. He would basically start killing my screens. And I don't want them to kill my screens. I want him to really commit heavily into one of my knights, maybe kill it, but be really punished for his commitment into the knight. So my list actually was the spoiler. What was it? I think it was the spoiler, and Great Unclean One. And this actually I find to be a good combination, but I would leave out the War Dogs. Like, I would leave out the War Dogs because, as I said, they are liability. But what you get from playing Roticus or the Great Unclean One is you have another tough target, which you can force your opponent. Oh, I should make myself bigger. You can force your opponent to commit into, and then punish them for it. So I will probably take out the War Dogs and get a Atropos, or maybe play the spoiler, Abominant, or something. I don't really know yet. Or maybe go even heavier on it. You play only War Dogs. I saw a list that I liked. Not sure. I haven't played it yet, so maybe I'm only like being biased and just being like, I wish it would work. But playing 3 spoilers and like 7 War Dogs. That's something I also find interesting. But I don't like about Roticus that he has no synergy with the rest of the army, and yeah, like the Great Unclean One is really funny if you start putting -1 to toughness on your opponent. It's hilarious. It's hilarious if you start ruining knights on force, or actually even like what I did is like I shooted the spoiler with a battle cannon on a -1 wound doomed knight and just wound them on 3s. That's just great. Okay, another question. Do you think the spoiler will get nerf hammer? I honestly think the whole codex is gonna get a nerf. I don't know how much, because I also think that Death Guard, Eldari are completely busted, and I don't know what's happening. My personal wish would actually be that they do more of a rework, because I think I personally think that towering needs to go. I actually said this to a few people at the WTC as well. I think towering is a rule that's completely unnecessary. I think they should remove the battle shock when moving through terrain for big knights as well. Just let them move all the time, make them maneuverable, but make them work for their angles, because as it currently stands, you don't need to work for your angles. You can always just tiny bit touch the thing, and then you can kill your opponent. And if that's the case, these guys here, the 3 spoilers from Bjorn in the back, they have a harder time getting their angles. My list has harder time getting the angles and has to work for it. I have to expose myself much more, and my opponent has much more hiding, and I think we have to change our playstyle. I think that was all the questions we had. There's definitely, as I said, downsides to this list, and you have to work around it. And as with every list, you should try to understand them and then play to their strengths. And I hope I managed to tell you a few of these strengths. And if you are interested in learning more about Chaos Knights, be it this list, other archetypes, general pressure list, shooting list, I basically coach everything as part of the Breaking Heads coaching service. You can go to www.breakingheads.de/coaching, and the whole website is in German. So if you feel like a bit you don't know what to do and Google Translate doesn't work or something, you can just send me an email. It's I'll write it in the chat. So it's basically just contact with a K at breakingheads.de. If you have any questions, you can also hit me up on the Discord. You can write questions in the comments here below. I hope this was educational for you. I didn't do that much in-depth analysis of games as much as I wanted to. I hope you still understood the general principles. I'm a talking head, talking too much, and my throat is killing me. And with that, I'm off. I hope you liked it. Like the video, subscribe to Breaking Heads, and see you next Monday and for more WC content. Goodbye.